The morning sun cast long shadows across the marble floors of Rosewood Palace, one of the most magnificent royal residences in the fictional kingdom of Valdoria. Princess Isabella Charlotte Rosewood, a spirited 8-year-old with golden curls and bright blue eyes, skipped through the ornate hallways with her usual boundless energy. Her small feet made soft pattering sounds against the polished stone as she explored the endless corridors that had been her playground since birth. Isabella was known throughout the palace for her curious nature and adventurous spirit. Unlike many royal children who were content to sit quietly with their tutors, she preferred to discover the hidden secrets of her ancestral home. Today was no different. Having finished her morning lessons in mathematics and literature with her governess, Miss Adelaide, Isabella had been granted 2 hours of free time before her afternoon etiquette training. The palace's grand staircase was Isabella's favorite architectural marvel. Rising 80 steps from the ground floor to the upper royal chambers, it was a masterpiece of engineering and artistry. Each step was carved from pristine white marble imported from distant quarries, and the ornate golden railings were adorned with intricate patterns of roses and vines, symbolizing the Rosewood family crest. Tapestries depicting centuries of royal history lined the walls, and crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms of light throughout the stairwell. Guard Captain Marcus Thornfield had been assigned to the palace security detail for nearly 15 years. A tall, imposing man with graying temples and sharp green eyes. He took his duty of protecting the royal family with unwavering seriousness. This morning he was conducting his routine patrol of the palace's upper levels, checking security protocols and ensuring all areas remained secure. As Isabella reached the top of the grand staircase, she paused to admire the view below. From this height, she could see the entire entrance hall, with its magnificent marble floors arranged in intricate geometric patterns. The morning light streaming through the tall windows created a spectacular display of colors and shadows that never failed to captivate her young imagination. Isabella's governess had warned her countless times about the dangers of running near the staircase, but the child's natural curiosity often overcame her caution. She loved to lean against the railing and imagine what it would be like to slide down the smooth banister like the characters in her adventure books. Today, however, something unusual caught her attention. Near the base of the staircase, a small group of palace maintenance workers were installing new carpet runners along the hallway. Their equipment and supplies were scattered about, creating an unusual scene in the typically pristine environment. Isabella leaned forward, trying to get a better view of their work, pressing her small body against the ornate railing. Captain Thornfield emerged from the east wing corridor just as Isabella reached the staircase. His trained eyes immediately assessed the scene below, noting the maintenance crew and their equipment. Years of military service had taught him to observe every detail of his surroundings, and he prided himself on maintaining constant vigilance while on duty. The morning had been unusually quiet, with most of the royal family attending a diplomatic meeting in the palace's conference chambers. King Edmund and Queen Victoria were hosting representatives from neighboring kingdoms, discussing trade agreements and diplomatic relations. This left Isabella with more freedom than usual to explore, though her movements were still carefully monitored by the palace staff. Isabella's personal bodyguard, Sir James Wellington, had been called away to assist with security preparations for the afternoon state dinner. This was unusual, as Sir James rarely left Isabella's side during her free periods. However, the afternoon event required additional security coordination, and Captain Thornfield had assured everyone that the palace's internal security was more than adequate for a quiet morning. As Isabella leaned further over the railing, trying to see what tools the maintenance workers were using, she noticed something glittering on one of the lower steps. From her position 80 steps above, it appeared to be a small piece of jewelry, perhaps a brooch or pendant that someone had dropped. Her natural curiosity was immediately piqued, and she began to wonder who might have lost such a precious item. The palace was home to hundreds of staff members, from high-ranking officials to kitchen servants, each playing a vital role in maintaining the grand estate. Isabella had always been fascinated by the diverse group of people who worked tirelessly to keep her home functioning smoothly. She often wondered about their lives outside the palace walls and enjoyed hearing their stories during her informal conversations throughout the day. Captain Thornfield began his descent down a parallel corridor, planning to complete his security sweep of the main floor. His route would eventually bring him to the base of the grand staircase, where he could observe the maintenance work and ensure it didn't compromise the palace's security protocols. He moved with purpose, his heavy boots creating a steady rhythm against the stone floors. Isabella's excitement about the mysterious glittering object grew stronger with each passing moment. She had always been taught that returning lost items was a noble gesture, and the thought of reuniting someone with their precious belonging filled her with determination. Without thinking about the potential dangers, she began to formulate a plan to retrieve the item. The palace's architecture was both beautiful and functional, designed to impress visitors while providing practical living spaces for the royal family. However, the grand staircase's design, while magnificent, had always presented certain safety challenges. The steps were steep and narrow, and the height created an intimidating perspective for anyone looking down from the top. Isabella's governess, Miss Adelaide, was currently in the palace library, preparing materials for the afternoon's history lesson about Valdoria's ancient traditions. She believed Isabella was safely playing in her chambers, having no reason to suspect that her young charge had wandered to the potentially dangerous staircase area. As Isabella contemplated how to reach the glittering object, she noticed that the maintenance workers had temporarily left their post, probably taking a break in the palace's service areas. This seemed like the perfect opportunity to investigate without disturbing their work. She began to consider various approaches to descending the stairs quickly and efficiently. The palace's morning routine continued around her, with servants quietly going about their duties, preparing for the day's events. The diplomatic meeting in the conference chambers was proceeding smoothly, and the kitchen staff was already beginning preparations for the elaborate state dinner planned for that evening. None of them were aware of the small drama beginning to unfold at the grand staircase. Captain Thornfield paused in his patrol to review a security report from the night shift. Everything had been quiet and routine, with no incidents or concerns noted. The palace's security system was comprehensive, with multiple layers of protection ensuring the safety of all residents and visitors. However, no system could account for every possible scenario, especially when curious children were involved. Isabella made her decision. She would carefully make her way down the stairs, retrieve the lost item, and return to safety before anyone noticed her absence. In her young mind, this seemed like a perfectly reasonable plan. She had navigated these stairs countless times before, always under supervision, and she felt confident in her ability to manage the descent. What Isabella didn't realize was that the maintenance work had created subtle changes to the familiar environment. The workers had applied a special cleaning solution to several steps as part of their preparation process, leaving some surfaces slightly more slippery than usual. Additionally, small tools and materials had been temporarily placed along the route, creating unexpected obstacles. As Isabella began her descent, stepping carefully from one marble step to the next, she felt a surge of excitement about her secret mission. The glittering object seemed to beckon to her from below, and she imagined the gratitude of whoever had lost such a precious item. Her small hands gripped the golden railing tightly as she made her way down the imposing staircase. Captain Thornfield completed his security check of the East Wing and began moving toward the central areas of the palace. His route would bring him through the main entrance hall directly past the base of the grand staircase. Years of military training had taught him to move efficiently while maintaining constant awareness of his surroundings. The palace's ancient walls had witnessed centuries of history, from grand celebrations to moments of crisis. Today seemed destined to add another chapter to that long story, as an 8-year-old princess and a dedicated guard captain moved toward an encounter that would test both courage and quick thinking. Isabella was approximately halfway down the 80-step staircase when she encountered the first unexpected obstacle. A small cleaning cloth had been left on one of the steps, nearly invisible against the white marble. Her foot caught the edge of the fabric, causing her to stumble slightly. She caught herself against the railing, her heart racing from the brief moment of panic. The incident served as a reminder of the real dangers present in her seemingly simple mission. For the first time since beginning her descent, Isabella felt a flutter of doubt about her decision. However, her determination to retrieve the lost item and the proximity of her goal encouraged her to continue carefully downward. Captain Thornfield entered the main entrance hall just as Isabella was recovering from her stumble. From his position near the base of the staircase, he could see the maintenance equipment scattered about, but the angle and lighting made it difficult to immediately spot the small figure making her way down from high above. The morning light streaming through the palace's tall windows created a complex pattern of shadows and bright spots throughout the staircase area. This natural lighting, while beautiful, also created visual challenges for anyone trying to observe activity in the upper reaches of the stairway. Isabella resumed her careful descent, now more aware of the potential hazards around her. She moved slowly, testing each step before putting her full weight on it. The glittering object was now much closer, and she could see that it appeared to be a small silver locket, possibly belonging to one of the palace maids. As she reached the final quarter of her descent, Isabella's confidence began to return. She had successfully navigated most of the challenging staircase, and her goal was now within reach. However, she remained unaware of the most dangerous part of her journey still ahead. The maintenance workers had applied their strongest cleaning solution to the bottom 20 steps, preparing them for the installation of new carpet runners. This solution, while effective for its intended purpose, had left these steps significantly more slippery than the rest of the staircase. Warning signs had been placed in the area, but they were positioned for adult eye level and were not immediately visible to a small child. Captain Thornfield began his inspection of the maintenance area, checking to ensure that security protocols were being followed and that no safety hazards had been created. His systematic approach meant examining every aspect of the work area, from equipment placement to potential access points. Isabella reached step number 65, with only 15 steps remaining between her and her goal. The silver locket gleamed in the morning sunlight, and she could now see intricate engravings on its surface. Her excitement grew as she imagined returning the precious item to its rightful owner. The palace around them continued its normal morning routine, unaware of the small drama unfolding on the grand staircase. In a few moments, the careful balance between a child's innocent adventure and an adult's protective vigilance would be tested in ways none of them could have anticipated. Isabella's small feet touched the 60th step, bringing her closer to the mysterious silver locket that had captured her attention. The morning sunlight continued to stream through the tall palace windows, creating an almost magical atmosphere in the grand staircase. However, the beauty of the moment masked the growing danger that lay just steps ahead. Captain Thornfield moved methodically through the entrance hall, his experienced eyes cataloging every detail of the maintenance operation. The workers had done a thorough job of organizing their equipment, but he noticed several areas where safety protocols could be improved. His military background had taught him that attention to detail could mean the difference between routine operations and dangerous accidents. As Isabella descended past the halfway point of the staircase, she began to feel a subtle change in the atmosphere. The air seemed cooler, and there was a faint chemical smell that she couldn't identify. This was the cleaning solution that the maintenance crew had applied to the lower steps, though Isabella had no way of understanding its significance. The palace's morning routine continued around them, creating a backdrop of familiar sounds and activities. In the kitchens, preparations for the state dinner were beginning in earnest, with head chef Marie directing her staff in the creation of elaborate dishes for the evening's distinguished guests. The diplomatic meetings in the conference chambers were proceeding smoothly, with King Edmund and Queen Victoria skillfully navigating complex negotiations with their neighboring kingdoms. Isabella's governess, Miss Adelaide, remained in the palace library, carefully selecting historical texts and illustrations for the afternoon's lesson. She had complete confidence in Isabella's ability to entertain herself safely during these brief periods of independence. The child had always been responsible and obedient, rarely venturing into areas that had been designated as off-limits or potentially dangerous. Sir James Wellington, Isabella's regular bodyguard, was deeply involved in coordinating security arrangements for the evening's state dinner. The event would host dignitaries from 5 different kingdoms, requiring unprecedented levels of security, planning, and coordination. Every entrance, exit, and corridor had to be carefully monitored, and contingency plans needed to be developed for various scenarios. As Isabella reached the 50th step, she paused to catch her breath and reassess her progress. From this new vantage point, she could see the silver locket even more clearly. It appeared to be an antique piece, possibly a family heirloom, which made her mission feel even more important. She imagined the relief and gratitude of whoever had lost such a precious item. Captain Thornfield completed his initial survey of the maintenance area and began to look upward, checking the upper levels of the staircase for any security concerns. The palace's architecture created numerous blind spots and hidden areas that required careful monitoring. His systematic approach meant examining every angle and perspective to ensure comprehensive security coverage. The maintenance crew had been working since early morning, applying specialized cleaning solutions and preparing the staircase for new carpeting. Their supervisor, Master Thomas Hartwell, was a perfectionist who took great pride in maintaining the palace's pristine appearance. However, he had stepped away to discuss scheduling details with the palace's head steward, leaving the work area temporarily unattended. Isabella continued her careful descent, now at step 45. The chemical smell was becoming stronger, though she still didn't understand its significance. Her small hands gripped the ornate golden railing tightly, using it for balance and support as she navigated the increasingly challenging terrain. The palace's security systems were comprehensive but not infallible. They relied on human observation and judgment, supplemented by strategic positioning and careful protocols. However, no system could account for every possible scenario, especially when it involved a determined 8-year-old with a noble mission and an adventurous spirit. Captain Thornfield's attention was momentarily diverted by a minor commotion near the main entrance. A delivery person was having difficulty with the palace's security checkpoint procedures, requiring brief intervention to resolve the situation. This distraction, lasting only a few moments, occurred at a critical time in Isabella's descent. Isabella reached step 40 with the silver locket now tantalizingly close. She could see intricate engravings on its surface, depicting what appeared to be roses and vines similar to the rosewood family crest. This discovery added to her excitement and strengthened her resolve to retrieve the lost treasure. The palace's ancient stones had witnessed countless moments of history, from grand celebrations to times of crisis. The grand staircase itself had been the scene of royal processions, diplomatic ceremonies, and family gatherings for generations. Today, it was about to become the setting for a moment that would test the quick thinking and courage of those present. As Isabella approached step 35, she began to notice that the marble beneath her feet felt different. The surface seemed smoother and more slippery than the steps above, though she attributed this to the natural variations in the ancient stonework. She adjusted her grip on the railing and continued her careful progress downward. Captain Thornfield resolved the entrance security issue and returned his attention to the staircase area. His trained eyes began a systematic sweep of the entire structure, starting from the bottom and working upward. Years of experience had taught him that thorough observation required patience and methodical attention to detail. The cleaning solution applied to the lower steps was a powerful chemical compound designed to remove centuries of accumulated dirt and grime. While highly effective for its intended purpose, it had the unfortunate side effect of creating an extremely slippery surface until it completely dried. The maintenance crew had planned to post warning signs and barrier ropes, but these safety measures had not yet been implemented. Isabella reached step 30, her excitement growing with each step closer to her goal. The silver locket seemed to beckon to her, and she began to plan exactly how she would retrieve it and return it to its rightful owner. In her young imagination, she envisioned herself as a heroic figure, performing a noble deed worthy of recognition. The palace's morning light continued to shift and change as the sun moved across the sky, creating an ever-evolving pattern of shadows and bright spots throughout the staircase area. These changing light conditions made observation challenging, particularly when trying to spot small figures against the ornate background of marble and gold. Captain Thornfield began his upward visual sweep, carefully examining each level of the staircase. His position at the base provided a good overall view, but the palace's elaborate architecture created numerous visual obstacles. Decorative columns, hanging tapestries, and ornate light fixtures all contributed to the challenge of maintaining complete visual coverage. Isabella descended past step 20-5, entering the zone where the cleaning solution had been most heavily applied. The difference in the surface was now unmistakable, even to her young and inexperienced perception. Her small feet began to slide slightly with each step, requiring increased concentration and careful placement. The palace staff continued their morning duties, unaware of the developing situation on the grand staircase. In the royal chambers, maids were preparing the rooms for the afternoon's activities, while in the gardens, groundskeepers were ensuring that the outdoor areas would be perfect for any guests who might wish to take a stroll during the evening's festivities. Master Thomas Hartwell concluded his meeting with the head steward and began to return to the staircase area. His conversation had taken longer than expected, and he was eager to check on the progress of the cleaning operation. As a master craftsman with decades of experience, he took personal responsibility for ensuring that every aspect of the work met the palace's exacting standards. Isabella reached step 20. Now very close to her goal, but also entering the most dangerous part of her journey. The cleaning solution was at its most concentrated in this area, creating conditions that would challenge even an experienced adult's balance and coordination. Her small size and lighter weight provided some advantage, but also made her more vulnerable to sudden slips or falls. Captain Thornfield's methodical visual sweep reached the middle section of the staircase. The changing light patterns and architectural features made it difficult to immediately spot anything unusual, but his training had taught him patience and persistence. He continued his careful observation, knowing that thorough security required attention to every detail. The silver locket lay on step 15, having been dropped earlier that morning by Lady Margaret Ashworth, one of Queen Victoria's ladies-in-waiting. Lady Margaret had been hurrying to attend the diplomatic meeting and hadn't noticed when the precious family heirloom slipped from her dress pocket. The locket contained a miniature portrait of her late grandmother and held immense sentimental value. Isabella descended to step 18, her excitement reaching new heights as the locket came within easy reach. However, the chemical smell was now quite strong, and the slippery surface was becoming increasingly difficult to navigate safely. Her small hands worked to maintain their grip on the ornate railing, while her feet sought secure placement on each step. The palace's security protocols were designed to handle a wide range of potential threats and situations, from diplomatic emergencies to natural disasters. However, they had not specifically anticipated the scenario of a young princess undertaking an unauthorized rescue mission in a chemically treated area of the palace. Captain Thornfield paused in his visual sweep as something caught his peripheral vision. A small movement in the upper reaches of the staircase had registered in his consciousness, though he couldn't immediately identify its source. His military training had taught him to trust these subtle instincts, and he began to focus his attention more intently on the upper areas. Isabella reached step 16, now just one step away from her prize. The silver locket gleamed in the morning sunlight, its intricate engravings clearly visible. She could see that it was indeed a beautiful piece of jewelry, confirming her belief that it held significant value to its owner. Her young heart swelled with pride at the thought of returning such a precious item. Master Thomas Hartwell entered the main entrance hall and immediately noticed that his work area was unattended. While this was not necessarily a serious problem, his perfectionist nature made him uncomfortable with any deviation from planned procedures. He began to walk quickly toward the base of the staircase, intending to check on the status of the cleaning operation. The chemical cleaning solution continued its work on the ancient marble, creating an invisible hazard that grew more dangerous with each passing moment. The concentration was highest on the bottom 15 steps, where the solution had been applied most recently and had not yet begun to evaporate significantly. Isabella extended her small hand toward the silver locket, now within easy reach on step 15. Her other hand maintained its grip on the golden railing while her feet sought stable positioning on step 16. The combination of excitement, concentration, and the challenging surface conditions created a precarious situation that required all of her attention and coordination. Captain Thornfield's trained eyes finally detected the small figure making its way down the upper reaches of the staircase. At first, he couldn't quite process what he was seeing. The sight of Princess Isabella, alone and unescorted, descending the treacherous grand staircase was so unexpected that it took a moment for him to fully comprehend the situation. The palace around them continued its normal rhythm, with hundreds of people going about their daily duties, unaware that a crisis was developing just steps away from them. The morning sun continued to stream through the tall windows, creating beautiful but potentially deceptive lighting conditions throughout the staircase area. Isabella's fingertips touched the silver locket, and a surge of triumph filled her young heart. She had successfully completed the most challenging part of her mission and was now ready to claim her prize. However, as she leaned forward to grasp the precious item fully, her weight distribution shifted in a way that challenged her precarious balance on the slippery marble surface. The moment of greatest danger had arrived, though Isabella remained unaware of the full extent of the peril surrounding her. The combination of the chemical cleaning solution, her small size, the steep angle of the staircase, and her excitement about achieving her goal had created a perfect storm of hazardous conditions. Captain Thornfield's military training immediately kicked into high gear as he recognized the developing emergency. His mind rapidly calculated distances, angles, and timing, while his body began to move with the swift precision that had been drilled into him through years of service and countless hours of training. The silver locket, innocent and beautiful in the morning light, was about to become the catalyst for a moment that would test the courage, training, and quick thinking of everyone involved. The palace's ancient walls prepared to witness another chapter in their long history, one that would be remembered for the heroism it revealed in a moment of unexpected crisis. The moment Isabella's small fingers closed around the silver locket, everything changed in an instant. Her shift in balance, combined with the treacherous chemical residue coating the marble steps, created the perfect conditions for disaster. Her feet, already struggling for purchase on the slippery surface, suddenly lost all traction as her weight shifted forward to grasp the precious item. Captain Thornfield's sharp eyes had been tracking Isabella's descent, his military-trained mind calculating potential outcomes with lightning speed. The moment he saw her reach for the locket, his experience told him exactly what was about to happen. Without hesitation, he began moving, his powerful legs propelling him toward the base of the staircase with remarkable speed for such a large man. Isabella felt the terrifying sensation of her feet sliding out from under her. The ornate golden railing, which had been her lifeline throughout the descent, suddenly seemed impossibly far away as her small body began to tumble forward. The silver locket, still clutched in her tiny fist, became both her prize and her downfall, as the momentum of reaching for it sent her into an uncontrolled fall. The palace's ancient marble steps, polished to perfection over centuries, became a deadly cascade beneath Isabella's falling form. Each impact sent shock waves of pain through her small body as she tumbled from step 15 toward the distant ground floor. Her royal dress, usually so carefully maintained and pristine, twisted around her legs, further hampering her ability to control or stop her devastating fall. Captain Thornfield's years of military service had prepared him for split-second decision-making under the most extreme circumstances. As he watched Isabella's small form begin its terrifying descent, his training took over completely. He calculated trajectory, speed, and timing, while his body moved with the fluid precision of a man who had faced life-and-death situations countless times before. Master Thomas Hartwell had just entered the main entrance hall when the crisis began to unfold. His experienced eyes immediately recognized the catastrophic situation developing on his work site. The cleaning solution he had personally supervised, applied with such care to restore the ancient marble to its original beauty, had become the instrument of potential tragedy. Isabella's world became a blur of pain, fear, and confusion as she tumbled down the unforgiving steps. Her young mind, usually so quick and curious, could barely process what was happening to her. The silver locket remained clenched in her small fist, a tangible reminder of the innocent mission that had led to this nightmare. The sound of Isabella's fall echoed through the grand entrance hall like thunder, alerting everyone within hearing distance that something terrible was happening. Servants dropped their tasks, guards turned from their posts, and the careful order of the palace morning dissolved into urgent chaos as people rushed toward the source of the commotion. Captain Thornfield reached the base of the staircase just as Isabella's tumbling form approached the final 20 steps. His position and timing had to be absolutely perfect. Too early and he would miss her entirely. Too late and the momentum of her fall would be too great for even his strength to safely arrest. His military training had taught him that in moments like these, hesitation meant failure. Isabella's small body struck step 25 with brutal force, sending another wave of pain through her already battered form. Her dress was now torn and dirty, her golden curls disheveled and tangled. The silver locket had cut into her palm, adding a thin stream of blood to her other injuries. Yet somehow, through the pain and terror, her survival instincts began to assert themselves. The palace's elaborate architecture, usually so admired for its beauty and grandeur, now seemed to conspire against the falling child. The steep angle of the staircase, designed to create an impressive visual impact, increased the speed and force of her uncontrolled descent. The ornate decorations that lined the walls flashed past her vision in a dizzying kaleidoscope of gold and marble. Captain Thornfield positioned himself at the base of the staircase, his powerful frame planted firmly on the marble floor. His arms were extended upward, ready to catch the falling princess, while his legs were braced to absorb the tremendous impact that was coming. Every muscle in his body was coiled like a spring, prepared for the moment when Isabella would reach him. Master Thomas Hartwell shouted warnings to everyone in the area, his voice cutting through the chaos as he tried to coordinate an emergency response. His decades of experience managing palace operations had never prepared him for a situation quite like this, but his natural leadership abilities kicked in as he began directing people to clear the area and summon medical assistance. Isabella's fall continued with terrifying momentum as she tumbled past step 20. The cleaning solution that had made her descent so treacherous now worked against her in another way, as the chemical residue made it impossible for her to grab onto anything that might slow her fall. Her small hands scraped uselessly against the slippery marble as she desperately tried to arrest her descent. The palace staff, who had gathered to witness the unfolding crisis, watched in horror as their beloved young princess continued her devastating fall. Many had watched her grow from a toddler into the bright, curious child she had become, and the sight of her in such mortal danger was almost too much to bear. Several servants began to pray aloud, their voices adding to the cacophony of sound that filled the entrance hall. Captain Thornfield's timing had to be absolutely perfect. His experienced eyes tracked Isabella's trajectory, while his mind calculated the precise moment when he would need to act. The margin for error was virtually non-existent. If he moved too soon, he would miss her entirely, and she would continue her fall to the unforgiving marble floor. If he moved too late, the force of her impact would overwhelm even his considerable strength. Isabella tumbled past step 15, her small body now bearing multiple cuts and bruises from her terrible journey down the unforgiving staircase. The silver locket remained clutched in her bloodied hand, a testament to the determination that had gotten her into this predicament. Through the haze of pain and terror, she caught a glimpse of Captain Thornfield's imposing figure positioned at the base of the stairs. The moment of truth arrived as Isabella's falling form reached the final 5 steps. Captain Thornfield's powerful legs drove him upward just as her small body became airborne above the last step. His massive arms enveloped her tiny form, absorbing the tremendous impact with his own body, while using his strength and training to transform her potentially fatal fall into a controlled landing. The collision between the falling princess and the rising guard captain created a thunderous impact that echoed throughout the entrance hall. Captain Thornfield's feet remained planted firmly on the marble floor, as his arms cradled Isabella's battered form, his own body absorbing the shock that would have seriously injured or killed the young princess. Isabella found herself suddenly safe in the powerful arms of her rescuer, the terrifying sensation of falling, replaced by the security of Captain Thornfield's protective embrace. Her small body was racked with pain from the numerous impacts, but she was alive and conscious, still clutching the silver locket that had started her dangerous adventure. Captain Thornfield carefully examined Isabella for serious injuries while maintaining his protective hold on her small form. His military field medicine training allowed him to quickly assess that while she was certainly hurt and traumatized, her injuries appeared to be primarily cuts and bruises rather than the broken bones or head trauma that could have resulted from such a fall. Master Thomas Hartwell reached them within moments of the rescue, his face pale with the realization of how close they had come to tragedy. His cleaning operation, so carefully planned and executed, had nearly resulted in the death of the kingdom's beloved young princess. He immediately began shouting orders to his crew to neutralize the remaining cleaning solution and make the area safe. The palace's medical staff, summoned by the initial commotion, arrived at the scene with remarkable speed. Catherine Blackwood, the royal physician, took immediate charge of Isabella's care, her experienced hands gently examining the child for injuries, while her calm professional demeanor helped to reassure everyone present that the situation was under control. Isabella, despite her pain and shock, managed to open her small fist and reveal the silver locket that had motivated her dangerous journey. Through tears and gasps, she explained to Captain Thornfield that she had only wanted to return the lost treasure to its rightful owner. Her noble intentions, despite the terrible consequences, touched the hearts of everyone who witnessed her explanation. Word of the incident spread quickly throughout the palace, reaching the royal conference chambers where King Edmund and Queen Victoria were still engaged in their diplomatic meetings. The moment they learned of their daughter's accident, they immediately excused themselves from the negotiations and rushed to the scene, their faces etched with worry and fear. Captain Thornfield's heroic actions had not gone unnoticed by the gathering crowd of palace staff and officials. His split-second decision-making, perfect timing, and willingness to risk his own safety to save Isabella had prevented what could have been an unspeakable tragedy. The respect and admiration in the eyes of everyone present was unmistakable. Blackwood's preliminary examination revealed that Isabella had suffered multiple cuts and bruises, but no broken bones or serious internal injuries. The child's small size and the careful positioning of Captain Thornfield's rescue had combined to minimize the physical damage from what could have been a fatal fall down the palace's 80-step grand staircase. Isabella's parents, King Edmund and Queen Victoria, arrived at the scene just as Dr. Blackwood was completing her initial assessment. The relief on their faces when they saw their daughter conscious and alert was matched only by their gratitude toward Captain Thornfield, who had quite literally saved their child's life through his quick thinking and heroic actions. The silver locket, still clutched in Isabella's small hand, was identified as belonging to Lady Margaret Ashworth, one of Queen Victoria's ladies-in-waiting. Lady Margaret, summoned to the scene by the commotion, was overwhelmed with emotion when she learned that the young princess had risked her life attempting to return the precious family heirloom. Captain Thornfield's actions that morning would become the stuff of legend within the palace walls. His perfect timing, physical strength, and willingness to place himself in harm's way to protect the royal family exemplified the highest ideals of service and heroism. The incident would be remembered and retold for generations as an example of extraordinary courage under pressure. Isabella's recovery began immediately under Dr. Blackwood's expert care. While her physical injuries would heal within a few weeks, the emotional impact of the experience would take longer to process. However, her natural resilience and the love and support of her family and the palace staff would help her through the difficult days ahead. The cleaning operation on the grand staircase was immediately suspended and completely re-evaluated in light of the near tragedy. Master Thomas Hartwell worked with palace security to develop new safety protocols that would prevent similar incidents in the future, ensuring that the palace remained both beautiful and safe for all its residents. King Edmund announced that Captain Thornfield would be elevated to the position of Chief of Palace Security, a promotion that recognized both his heroic actions and his demonstrated ability to protect the royal family under the most challenging circumstances. The announcement was met with unanimous approval from everyone who had witnessed his remarkable rescue of Princess Isabella. As the immediate crisis passed, and Isabella was carefully transported to the palace infirmary for further treatment, the full magnitude of what had nearly occurred began to sink in for everyone involved. The young princess's innocent desire to help others had nearly cost her life, but it had also revealed the extraordinary dedication and heroism of those sworn to protect her. The silver locket, cleaned and polished, was eventually returned to Lady Margaret Ashworth, but not before being blessed by the palace chaplain as a symbol of the miraculous rescue that had taken place. Isabella would eventually receive a specially crafted replica of the locket as a reminder of her adventure and the heroism it had inspired. Captain Thornfield's actions that morning demonstrated the very best qualities of service, courage, and split-second decision-making under pressure. His rescue of Princess Isabella became a defining moment not only in his own career, but in the history of the palace itself, proving that heroes can emerge in the most unexpected moments when lives hang in the balance. The incident served as a powerful reminder that even the most routine activities can become dangerous under the wrong circumstances, and that the safety protocols designed to protect the royal family must account for the curious and adventurous nature of children. It also demonstrated the extraordinary lengths to which dedicated servants will go to protect those in their care. Isabella's courage in attempting to return the lost locket despite the terrible consequences was not forgotten. Her noble intentions, combined with her miraculous survival, inspired new traditions within the palace that celebrated both heroism and the importance of helping others. The events of that morning became a defining moment in the young princess's life, shaping her understanding of both courage and the importance of those who dedicate their lives to protecting others. The palace returned to its normal routine in the days that followed, but the memory of Captain Thornfield's heroic rescue remained fresh in everyone's minds. The grand staircase, once again safe and beautiful, served as a daily reminder of how quickly routine can become crisis, and how the courage and quick thinking of dedicated individuals can make the difference between tragedy and triumph.